So in this case, for example, in the last image, in the last part of the video, you saw how we were deploying some trackers on the carapace of the turtle. So we can use that method because turtles, once in a while, they come to the surface for breeding. So that means that whenever the turtle comes to the surface, it's going to send a signal. So we are able to track the movements of the turtle. With sharks is different because sharks, they never come to the surface. So in this case, in terms of studying the population, in terms of studying the migratory patterns, in terms of studying the ecology of sharks, we need to bring them out of the water in terms of, in order to mark them and release them to the water. So this process is actually quite fast because they are not able to breathe out of the water. So we need to be fast in order to don't damage them, right? So we try to do everything within 1-2 minutes maximum. So we bring it out of the water, we tag it, we measure it, we get a sample to study the genetics, and then we release it back to the water. Yeah, so normally they are predators and they are more active during the night. Well, I wouldn't say they come back in specific days, but they are very territorial in some way. So we always find them in the same place. So in this case, this project, we are looking for the nursery areas around the coasts of different islands of Cabo Verde. So far, we are just doing catch and release from the coast. And we got some recaptures, and all of them are in the same place. So I cannot say about specific days, but about the specific locations, yes. Well, there is plenty of information still missing to study sharks. As I explained before, it's not easy to study sharks. And so far, we're studying a little bit different populations that we are finding around Santa Lucia and around São Vicente as well. The way to manage that is having a big team working the whole year, basically. So in Biosfera, we are around 30 people, 30 fixed staff that is working every single day of the whole year to do conservation. First of all, looking for fundings. Second of all, looking for issues, environmental issues, and looking for their solutions, writing down the projects, submitting the projects to look for funds. And once we get the funds, implementing the projects. So this is a process that kind of like takes time, you know, that it doesn't happen like quite quick. So it takes time. And in this case, we have several species, as you said, that they are coming to Cabo Verde at different times. So we have one team working with sharks, we have one team working with turtles, another team working with birds, another team working in the implementation of marine protected areas, etc., etc. We have another team for marine pollution, another team for sustainable fisheries. So that's the way how we work or how we manage to conserve different species and different ecosystems, and also to work with the community. You have to remember that we are not a social NGO, but at the same time, if you want to do conservation of biodiversity, it's essential to work with the communities and to try to eradicate poverty from the communities.
Most of the species breed during the summer season. So we have sea turtles and we have many seabirds, but there are some populations of seabirds that come during the winter season. So there are some, usually Biosfera starts working with them from late January, February for the seabirds, because during this time, the ocean is very rough and it's very windy. So during the winter season, we don't spend a lot of time in the islands. So we have this timing that we don't actually study them much. But from February, we start going to the islands and to follow each seabirds that come during their specific time. So I would say it's from February to November, the time that we that we are there. So we have different, we have a team that there's always people changing around to rest a bit and to continue the work. We have sometimes students from universities coming with us to study some specific species. We have these the two islands where we do conservation. So in Santa Luzia, it's more for sea turtles, because at the moment we don't have seabirds there, or it's very few. Because in the past, because they were invasive species like cats, the species of seabirds disappeared.
They were gone. Yeah.
They were gone, and now that the cats are not there, we are slowly trying to make them come back using artificial nests and recording calls so they can start coming. We do this in Branco as well. Do we have seabirds coming already? No.
Well, we have some. We have Plagodroma there in Branco, right?
In Branco, yeah.
Just to sum up what Nathalie said and about your question, yeah, we have different seasons. We have like really defined the turtle season, which goes from June till October, more or less. And then we have seabirds all year long, although like the months of summer, we have more species and they are more active. And then in terms of sharks, that's something that we are still studying and we are still collecting data, but we are doing the work the whole year, every single month, just to check the distribution and the timing, let's say. Yeah, so okay, let's explain this. So the thing is, like, Cabo Verde is located in a place that we have quite a lot of upwells from the ocean. So the water, it can get pretty cold. When I say pretty cold, it can go under 20 degrees. So in terms of corals, going under 20 degrees is not something good. So the amount of corals that we have here is not great. We are like below 50 species, which is the lowest rate around the coral countries around the world, let's say. So we cannot say that we have coral reefs. We have coral communities. We have like really specific small places with some species of corals. And yes, we are suffering some coral bleaching, but again, it's not a big problem here because the amount of coral that we have are pretty low, let's say. But yeah, we are suffering bleaching as well. So yeah, it's a quite tricky question to answer, because obviously to see changes, you need to have a pretty large baseline of migration. In this case, in Cabo Verde, the study of biodiversity is not very long or very old, let's say. So the conservation of turtles, which is actually the first kind of conservation that has been done in Cabo Verde, started 20 years ago in Boa Vista Island, which is not that much. In other parts of the country, is much new or young, let's say. So I cannot say right now if we are facing changes in migration because we don't have the proper data, or like we don't have enough data to evaluate that. But we are working on that. So we are collecting data about different species, about different ecosystems, and we are checking with our baselines to see differences. But I would say that we need to wait a bit longer. I don't know if Nathalie, you have any?
It's the same with seabirds. At the moment, we only study the seabirds when they are breeding. So the part of their actual migration, there's a few studies, but still we don't see a trend or a difference at the moment for seabirds. I would say that at the moment, yeah, we don't have much information about it. We have been studying the seabirds, I think in Hazo, I think it started in 2013. So yeah, we still more data to.
So the thing, like, you must understand that in order to analyze and to evaluate changes in migration, first of all, you need to have pretty clear the ecology of the species. So as I said, we are pretty new or like the science of biodiversity is pretty new here in Cabo Verde. So we are still studying the ecology of different species. For example, the most studied one, which is turtle, and you have a whole group of scientists there. They are still studying the ecology because there are still thousands of things to discover. And this is the most studied species in Cabo Verde. Then if you go to terrestrial reptiles, to seabirds, or like sharks or rays, or like any other species, like the lack of information is massive.
Yes, especially on terrestrial reptiles. So in terms of the problem with the reptiles, it's the drought. But we already are a drought country, but with the climate change, I'm pretty sure the numbers are going lower. We have some species that was found recently. I think it was 3 individuals or something. So pretty sure that there are species that live, I think, higher up the mountains. Maybe they look for a bit of humidity. So that could be one of the reasons, besides the cats, of course, that they are starting to disappear, and some of them need the humidity. And so
so sorry for not being very specific, but you must understand that in science things are not that easy. So you need to study quite a lot, look for a lot of information to try to take proper conclusions. Okay, so let me start, James, saying that putting in value all the communication that we do. Obviously, it's pretty cool to go to the field and to handle animals and catch sharks and work with turtles. Everything is pretty cool. But at the end of the day, we need to communicate all that. We need to spread the message around the communities and around the population. And that's the reason, because the communication department in Biosfera is really important and is doing an amazing work with several activities that probably Nathalie later is going to explain you with more detail. But in terms of TV programs, we are in the radio, we have an app game, we have magazines, we are going to schools, universities. So we are trying to spread the message around the different parts of the society. And one of them are the local communities, which are essential for us, okay? So we have this project about sustainable fisheries that is working really close with the community, with all the artisanal fisheries, but not just in that project. In all the different projects, we are always counting and always asking for advice, and always asking for the expertise of the people from the community, but because at the end of the day, they are the ones involved with the nature day by day. So, so far, because of logistic issues and because of our human resources and economical resources, we are just doing it from the coast. So we are studying the population of sharks from the coast. But our idea is to try to get more funding and try to get more resources in general, and try to go out there and look for pelagic sharks as well. So this is the next step in the shark project. If we talk about other fishes, so it's really important for me for you to understand that we know that the biggest problem in fisheries is the industrial fishing. The industrial fishing is happening out there, it's happening in open ocean. And for NGO as Biosfera, as the size of Biosfera, it's not very doable to go out there and to fight against that. Also, it's a very political issue, a very political problem. So far, we are just focusing in artisanal fisheries, in all those fishermen that they are fishing around or close to the coast. Once, because we can reach that industry, and two, because, as I said, for us, it's really important to work with the communities to try to improve the revenue of the communities. So we are focusing in that industry. But in the future, whenever Biosfera grows a bit more and gets more funding, we are going to go out there to fight the real problem for our oceans. Okay, so I'm gonna start. Maybe you go after. So when I was introducing myself, I think I did it pretty short. Then when I hear James and the rest of the team, they were doing like much longer introductions. So in this case, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm an environmental scientist, and when I finished my degree, I studied in Spain. I think everybody can notice my Spanish accent. So I was studying in Spain, and then when I finished my degree, I started traveling around the world. working in different conservation projects, working in different NGOs. So I was living in Cabo Verde. This is actually my third time. I was in Costa Rica, I was in Mexico, I was in Portugal, Ireland, Czech Republic. I spent 3 years working in Malaysia with coral reefs, which was an amazing experience. And now I'm back here in Cabo Verde. So this last time it's been already 2 years and a half working for Biosfera. And we will see what comes in the future.
Well, I was born here in Cabo Verde. I've always wanted to work something related to nature or animals and stuff. So I went abroad to Portugal to study, to do the bachelor's and master's and everything. And in the beginning, I thought I wouldn't return to Cabo Verde. I thought I would actually study or live in another country. Because I thought there was nothing to study here in terms of animals. All we knew was sparrows and pigeons, and there wasn't at the time there was not much information about the biodiversity that the way that we know right now. So it was the time when Biosfera started working and started talking about shearwater poaching. So in the past, there was this poaching of shearwater chicks. They would catch, fishermen would catch thousands of shearwaters to eat, because it was a traditional dish in Santo Antão. So they started this, they already started telling this to the communication to the whole country, and they started this NGO. So when I returned, while I was in vacation, I started talking to Tommy and Zé, and they told me all about the work that they're doing, the biodiversity of Cabo Verde, and I started thinking that maybe I would like to work here. It could be something, and so I decided to do my master's here in with Biosfera. So I went to Hazel to study seabirds, and from that moment on, I just kept on working with Biosfera. So I did volunteer work after the master's, and then I started working on projects. And then I started, because I've been drawing since I was a kid and everything, and they saw that I could have this both these areas. I could, it was like a bridge. It's a bridge of communication and conservation. So they started asking me to do more work and to create contents for kids, like the cartoon that I made, the comic book, anything that communicates what we are doing here. At the same time, it was during a period that there was this big funding for Biosfera, and so they were offering scholarships for masters, for PhD. And then I decided to apply to do the PhD, and I got it. And so I continued working for 4 years in seabird ecology, working in Hazel. I spent most of my summers in Hazel with the seabirds, sleeping in tents and sleeping near their nests to wait for them to return so I could put the GPS loggers to see where they go. And at the same time, when I was here, I was working on something to do with design. And finally, it was in 2002, I finished the PhD, and I'm working on both departments, like the bridge in terms of communication and conservation.
So once again, my presentation was too short.
No, it's not.